Hey, Fred Minnick here. We're about to get all slithery with our next bourbon. Gonna taste Copper Tongue. Ooh, giddy up! So, Copper Tongue is a part of the Orphan Barrel series from Diageo. And every single year that they do these, they send media kits like this. So it comes in like a book. You open it up, the bottle will be in there, and it's got like the art connected to it. And I have gotten every one of these. I've kept all of them. Some of them are at the house. Some of them are like in my basement, and I forgot about them, and there's still some in there. And then I have some in the office, of course. So a little bit of history behind the Orphan Barrel is this is a line that came out, and I've got stories about past Orphan Barrels in the descriptions. So if you want to click on those and read about them, feel free to. But Orphan Barrel comes out in a time when the bourbon craze was starting to go toward premium. It was kind of moving away from the value pour proposition to going into the like, holy shit, that's $80. Wow, that's expensive. And then of course we know how the prices continually to graduate. And they came out with a series of like Barter House, Old Blowhard, brands like that really had had some really artistic feel to it. And they would be all of these products that were 15, 20, 21, 22, 23 years old, and they're all old. And they were kind of like tapping into like the demand that Jefferson's, Michter's, and Pappy Van Winkle had created with old stocks from, former Bernheim stocks or old Stitzel-Weller, which is what, a lot of that old whiskey was, because that's what was being sold on the open market. And of course, the keeper of those stocks was Diageo, and for years they were selling those on the brokerage side to other people. Well, then they had a couple lots that really nobody wanted, and that is the real story about how Orphan Barrel came to be. Nobody wanted them in the people who were bottling old whiskey at the time, and they're like, well, what are we gonna do? And so they concepted in branding, well, nobody wants them, let's call them orphans. And so they were branded Orphan Barrels. And in fact, I interviewed the woman who came up with the name Orphan Barrels, I want to say in 2015, something like that. And, she gave the whole story. So when early on they were saying like nobody could find them, and that was not true. It is absolutely accurate that there are barrels in warehouses that cannot be located, and people do find things from time to time, but that was not really the story behind Orphan Barrel. Orphan Barrel was that nobody wanted them, and they were like orphans. And so that is how that got the name. Now, the whiskey was usually kind of meh. Very rarely was it, top notch or worth the price. But every now and then, one of these things will come through and be amazing. Like some of the rhetoric releases, I mean, I would put up there with pretty much anything that came out in those particular years. They were really, really good. But like the Old Blowhard and Barter House were just really over oaked or over filtered, and they just were like, ugh, So this is a 16-year-old cask strength distilled and bottled in Tullahoma. So basically what we know is this is Dickel. This is 89.8 proof, and we know this is Dickel. So a lot of these distillers will have proofs that are like below 90 proof, and they're not below 90 proof for the reasons why you may think. A lot of time in these warehouses, the proof will actually go down. Like Wild Turkey, it has a warehouse or two that it will drop 10, 15 points in proof. The old Crow distiller used to have products that would drop, from 110 to like 88 proof. So it's absolutely fascinating, that some warehouses the proof will go up, some warehouses the proof will go down. So don't read too much into the proof as to say like they cut the shit out of it with water. I mean, there could have been a significant proof droppage in the barrels. So here we go. Okay, one thing I do want to add, I am scared of snakes. Like, when I was a kid, I used to go to my pond and, like, shoot at a bunch of copperheads. And one time I ran out of bullets, and they started coming after me. And it's like a reoccurring dream in my life that I get dumped in a pit of copperhead, copperhead pits. And so I see this, and I'm like, oh my God, no, don't get me. I don't want to get bit by a snake. No. And this is really freaky. Also, it reminds me of Conan. When I was a kid, I watched Conan, and he got thrown in that big giant snake pit. And he basically, like, everybody he knew got eaten by these enormous, pythons and anacondas. And I'm just thinking, do we need to have snakes on a label of bourbon? Do we need that? I don't feel like we need that. And at the end of the day, there was also a true story that they used to use snakes in the flavoring of some of the rectified whiskeys in the 1800s. So there is a little bit of a history there. And even now, like, you can go to places like Vietnam, and they still use snakes in the flavoring of their spirits. So snakes have a long history of with booze, I don't know why, but I don't know why we'd want to put that on there today, but whatever. Okay, here we go. 16-year-old, and by the way, you will find Copper Tongue 16-year-old between $150, which is the price is at Total Wine, to more than $300 at some of the online liquor stores. So the price really varies wherever you go, but I'd say you'll find it between $150 to $400 from what I've seen. So here we go. Okay. Yeah, the nose has got kind of like that. It does have that, like, opening up a fresh jar of Flintstone vitamins. Not liking this nose at all. I mean, it's like oversaturated. It is really rich with like that Flintstone vitamin smell. After that, there is kind of a like some floralness to it, like rose petals kind of thing, but it's like very, very faint. On the palate, it's very almond forward. It's very nutty. A little bit of like black licorice, and it hits my palate a little bit like a sherry. It's very strange, but it's kind of it tastes a little bit like a sherry. So there's like a lot of these almond notes, some apricot, and it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I mean, the nose is kind of a turnoff, but that Flintstone vitamin flavor is not on the palate. It is. This is not coming off as like sweet. This is coming off as like tobacco, licorice. Has some those nutty characteristics and some apricot. So it's got a lot of very interesting things going on. I would really like to have this at dinner. I think this would pair exceptionally well with some fish, some like fleshy fish. I love bourbon with salmon, and I think this would go really, really great with salmon. But I think that this is a particular product that I got to be in the mood for, or I got to find the right place to put it. This is not an everyday drinker. I don't even think it's a special occasion drinker. I think you're in the mood for this particular flavor profile, which is very nut forward, with like hints of licorice and tobacco, and maybe some like leather. It finishes it's not a long finish, but it finishes very sharp, with like just like a touch of earth. It's not long, but it is pronounced. So it's there with a flash of earth, and then it's gone. But at the end of the day, you're looking at your wallet, and I would not justify spending $150 on this. I would, however, buy it in a restaurant to pair with something. I think this could be an excellent bourbon to pair with food. I really do, especially protein. I could also see it going great with a mild cigar. So if you're a cigar smoker, this is something that could go with something that's not too full bodied. So, but anyway, like I always say, taste for yourself. Go to a restaurant or bar, and maybe splurge a little bit and taste for yourself. But at the end of the day, it is your money, so it's your decision to make. But I would not be dropping it at retail. Maybe at a restaurant, or if somebody else wants to buy it, I'll drink their bottle. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. I appreciate you tuning in. Be safe out there. And remember, vodka sucks. Cheers, everybody.